Mr. Gee, did you undertake tests on the back steps leading up to the defendant's apartment?
Yes, we used a methyl silicone gum capillary to extract volatile hydrocarbons.
What did you find?
Several alkane peaks that indicated a Class 3 accelerant.
Can you be specific as to which Class 3 accelerant it was?
In my opinion, it was paint thinner.
This is the chromatograph in question?
Yes.
People's Exhibit 1A. And what does this represent?
That's from the nightgown.
People's Exhibit 1B. These look remarkably similar.
There was paint thinner on the nightgown, too.
Thank you.
Mr. Gee, you maintain that these graphs indicate a Class 3 accelerant, such as paint thinner.
Correct.
What other Class 3 accelerants are there?
Dry cleaning solvents, charcoal lighters.
So, in other words, this graph might show paint thinner, and this graph might show lighter fluid.
It's not possible.
It's not possible that Ms. Parnell was trying to get a spot out of a dress or grilled up a hot dog, and that's what put the accelerant on her nightgown? That's not possible?
The number of peaks on the graph would be different in this case. What's on the nightgown is paint thinner.
So you say. I'm through with this witness.
Because her bedroom door was closed and the room itself was far away from the point of origin, the damage to the defendant's bed was relatively minor.
In what position did you find her blanket?
As you can see in the photos, it was still tucked in.
Are you aware of the defendant's statement to the police that she was asleep in bed when the fire started?
Yes, I am.
Have you ever heard of somebody waking up with flames all around them and tucking in their blanket before they run out the door?
Not in my experience.
How about closing the door behind them after they run out?
No, sir.
Thank you. No more questions. Your witness.
Is it possible to fall asleep on top of the blankets?
It's possible.
On a hot night, you could even say, could you not, that it was more than possible, it was common.
The night of the fire was 54 degrees.
Well, if someone was reading a book or a magazine, they might fall asleep on top of the blankets regardless of temperature, mightn't they?
They might.
No further questions.
But no books or magazines were found by the defendant's bed.
I saw Miss Parnell 2 days before the fire.
What did she say about her son at that time?
She said that his seizures were getting more violent and more frequent, that the anticonvulsants weren't working. She said that she was afraid for her son, that she didn't know what to do.
What did you recommend?
I recommended that she place him in a residential facility.
What was her response?
She said that she had looked into it, but that every halfway decent group home that was equipped to handle her son's medical needs had at least a 5-year waiting list. She said that if it came to putting him in an institution, that he'd be better off dead.
Thank you, Doctor. I have nothing further.
Dr. Balakrishnan, you're from Pakistan, aren't you?
Objection irrelevant.
Sustained.
I'm sure that wherever you're from, people exaggerate sometimes, don't they?
Yes?
Doesn't the phrase, he'd be better off dead, sound to you like an exaggeration?
I thought so at the time.
And what did you think at the time of Megan Parnell's feelings toward her son?
I thought that she loved him, that she cared very deeply about him.
Did you think at the time that she wanted him dead?
Objection speculative.
Sustained.
Did she say she wanted him dead?
No.
As a matter of fact, Doctor, didn't she ask you about alternative treatments for her son?
Yes, she did.
Did she ask you about a place she could take her son? Somewhere in the world where she could take her son, that something might be done for him?
Yes, she did ask me that.
Does that sound to you like someone who is looking to end her son's life?
No, it doesn't.
Thank you, Doctor. I have nothing further.
Are you expecting us to fall to our knees in gratitude?
I expect you to recognize this is the best deal you're going to get and advise your client accordingly.
I'd have to go to prison, though. Any deal is going to entail prison time. I don't think I could bear to be separated from my daughter.
If you're found guilty of murder, you'll be separated for a lot longer.
The long and short of it, guys, is we'll take our chances with the jury.
You mean she'll take her chances with the jury?
I don't distance myself from my clients.
Okay. We're doing court.
At this time, Your Honor, the defense moves to dismiss all charges against Megan Parnell on the grounds that the prosecution has failed to make out a prima facie case.
Denied. Approach. Is there a plea to be worked out here?
We've offered man one, Your Honor, but defense counsel's not interested.
Can you explain your thinking on that one, Mr. Peck?
Your Honor, while I'm aware of the potential cumulative impact of the evidence, circumstantial though it may be, I don't believe the interests of justice are served by exposing my client to criminal penalties a manslaughter plea might entail. Therefore, at this time, after having consulted with my client, I'd like to change our plea to not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect.
What?
This was always anticipated as a possibility.
Your Honor, this is nothing more than Mr. Peck's conceit that he can pull a rabbit out of a hat, and his never-ending love for opportunities to hear himself talk. I'd stake my life that this doesn't represent an informed decision by the defendant herself.
I speak for the defendant herself.
You've got a week.
What's this jury gonna think when they hear you change your story from she didn't do it to she did do it, but she was insane at the time?
Well, they're going to think that Megan Parnell is a young woman of tragic circumstances, and I have beautiful eyes.
There's a chemical reaction in the brain when you're under stress. We can see the abnormalities in a PET scan.
Can these abnormalities be serious?
Absolutely. Neurons stop transmitting, glucose stops metabolizing. Brain function of a severely stressed individual is indistinguishable from that of a person who is mentally ill.
In your opinion, Doctor, was the defendant severely stressed at the time of the fire?
Based on my interviews with Megan, there is no question but that her stress level rose to the clinical designation of ACSS.
And what is that, Doctor?
Acute caretaker stress syndrome. ACSS is characterized by irrational behavior, radical emotional dissonance, and cognitive malfunction.
Could she tell the difference between right and wrong?
In my opinion, no.
Thank you, Doctor.
Where'd you go to medical school, Doctor?
My doctorate is in applied kinesiology. I did not go to medical school.
What's your background in psychology?
I've both read and lectured extensively, and I have a syndicated radio program now heard in most major markets.
In other words, you're not a psychologist, but you play one on the radio.
Objection. Counsel is mocking the witness.
Yes, I am.
Sustained.
This disorder you speak of, this ACSS, I've been looking for it in these very large reference books, and I couldn't find it.
It's a relatively new diagnosis.
Invented by whom?
It was first identified by myself.
Recognized by the American Psychiatric Association?
Not yet.
Any other professional organization?
It will be.
I'm glad we're on the cutting edge.
Objection. Mr. McCoy continues to mock the witness.
Withdrawn. I have nothing further.